Hello, everyone. Dr. Victoria Skirbo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center. And we're here in Massachusetts. It's time to look at the astrology of the week ahead. This is going to be the third week of June, and that runs from the 12th to the 18th. So let's take a look as I share my screen. So we're going to take a look at the following week. And of course, here in the US, we have the January 6th commission. We're, I think, at least having 2 hearings this week, if not 3. But let's take a look and see what the astrology has to say. Remember, we are in a 6-month, in a 6 universal year. And when we add those vibrations together, we get a 12-3. So the energy is one of responsibility, one of community, one of love. The 6th vibration is a vibration of love. If we look at it from the perspective of the tarot, we're looking at the Lover's card, which of course is about, it's actually less about love and much more about choice. And so we will be making decisions, and it is a Gemini energy. Of course, the sun is in Gemini for most of the month, and for this week, the sun is going to be in Gemini all week. And so Gemini is about communication. It's about facts. It's about black and white. It's not what we believe. It's what we it's the information that we need to base our beliefs upon, right? The information that we gather. So this will be in its way a very informational week. So let's take a look. We'll start at Monday. Today is Sunday the 12th. There are a couple of things happening with the moon, but there's no major aspects happening. However, on Monday, we do have Mercury make its ingress back into Gemini. This will be the 3rd time that Mercury has moved into that 1st degree of Gemini. And it's especially important because Mercury is the ruling planet of Gemini. Now, generally, when we look at the charts here, I look at a zero Aries chart, so a natural chart, so we can get an idea of what the energy is for everybody. But of course, I did put this for the US. So this is actually the chart for the US, erected at the time when Mercury moves back into Gemini, in the location of the United States of America. And this will give us a general idea of what this Gemini in this Mercury in Gemini may hold for us. Now, we have to remember that we just had a Mercury retrograde, and now what's happening is it's still in its shadow. So Mercury is still in the shadow of its retrograde, but it has now moved back into Gemini. And in a couple of days, I believe, by the end of the week, Mercury will be out of its shadow, but it is moving forward. And so the information that we're getting, we don't have to double check it and triple check it and all of that, unless of course you happen to have a Mercury retrograde yourself. And then that's your natural habit. You're always sort of putting it through the filters before you actually make a decision on the information coming in. But for the rest of those who do not have a Mercury retrograde in their natal chart, this is clear cut. And I wanted to use the United States chart for a couple of reasons, or at least, bring in a regular chart, not an Aries rising chart, because after all, we want to know, right? What is that expression? Something minds want to know, or seeking minds want to know. We had 3 of these Mercury moving into Gemini. It's like three, it could be 3 strikes you're out, or it could be, 3's a charm, right? I like to go with the 3's a charm. The first time Mercury went into Gemini was on the 30th of April 2022. That was a 40/4 vibration. Incidentally, the path of life vibration for Donald Trump. Just thought I'd mention that. Um, the second time it moved in, this was when it was retrograde, so it retrograded back over that degree, and that was on 5/23/2022, which is a 34/7 vibration, which incidentally in the Kabbalah is found in the Sephiroth of Hod, which is the Sephiroth of Mercury. So it's the Sephiroth of the mind, right? So the mind. So there's a lot of sort of energy. And now today, or Monday, the 13th, we have a 25/7 vibration, which is the night of Wands. So this is the night, the horse rearing up, and this is the knight who goes on a quest based on his heart, based on his what he knows to be true in his heart. Now, is that necessarily what's true? It kind of depends on the night, right? Because we can certainly delude ourselves and move into these. I mean, look at the what were those things? The Crusades, like looking for the cup, right? Looking for the cup. The Holy Grail is the womb of the feminine. That's what the Holy Grail is. And so they went and said they were looking for the Holy Grail, and it was really, I think, just a way to go into to attack infidels. I guess they were considered infidels at the time, the Arabs, who had a very high and wonderful and very astrologically astute civilization, right? So there was that. All right. Anyway, that's a little bit too much history, perhaps. But when we look at this chart here, we see that Mercury's right at the top of the chart. And the ascendant is in Virgo. And that's important because Virgo is also a Mercury ruled sign. And so Virgo is interested in the facts, ma'am, the facts and the details and what, just it's like the instruction book, right? Virgos like to write the instruction books. A lot of, excuse me, trial and error with Virgo. That's how Virgo learns, perfecting. So this is quite a powerful chart for this Mercury moving. And because it's right at the top of the chart, it's the most public place. And it is the most elevated planet in this chart. And so we are going to really get some valuable information this week. On Tuesday, the 14th, we have the full moon in Sagittarius. Now, of course, this is the halfway point of the lunation cycle that began with that new moon in Gemini. Remember that new moon in Gemini? Full moons are points of awareness. They're also very emotional. It's the moon. And let's take a look at the Sabian symbols for this full moon before we actually look at this full moon. So for the moon at 24 degrees of Sag, it says a bluebird perched on the gate of a cottage. What a lovely image. The reward which meets every effort at integrating into a social environment for those who remain true to their own selves. So this is a call to be true to yourself, which I'm sure people are going to be very true to themselves. Now, does that necessarily mean that being true to yourself is good for everybody? Well, it depends on who the self is or who you think you are, right? This is opposing the sun at 24 degrees of Gemini, which says children skating over a frozen village pond. The use of inhibiting circumstances for the development of character and a transcendent approach to the environment. So this really is talking about the moon is in this sort of symbol of, integrating, and the bluebird of happiness and the cottage. It's very bucolic, right? And opposite that is how we utilize those things that have caused us restriction or restraint, how we use those to strengthen our resolve, or to even just find ways in the most dire of circumstances to still be able to utilize the energy. And children skating over a frozen village pond sounds like fun. So even if things don't look like they're having fun, or nobody's looking like they're having fun, there's still the potential for that. And I kind of feel like, Sagittarius tends to be a very optimistic sign. Gemini tends to be a very, in a way, devil may care sign. This is a bit of maybe a little rest for us, but not for all of us. Not for all of us. So let's take a look at this next set of charts. This is Donald Trump's birthday, right? The 14th happens to fall on his birthday. And it's actually not the day of his solar return. The day of his solar return is the day before, June 13th. And here's Donald Trump's solar return. And of course, I wanted to, I don't generally pull in Trump or any sort of political thing when I do these particular week long things. But because, it is the January 6th commission, it's a Gemini, everything's coming and the information is coming out. I thought we could take a look and see what kind of year maybe Donald Trump would have. And I'm assuming he's in Mar-a-Lago, but I could be wrong. So I did do the solar return chart for West Palm Beach, where I believe, or Palm Beach. Well, it doesn't matter. It's general vicinity, right? And so here we see his sun here in the 7th house. The 7th house is a house of relationship. It's also a house of justice, right? It's a house of legal issues. And so he is in maybe legal jeopardy here. We have the moon in Sagittarius. Having the moon in Sagittarius in that 1st house with the Sagittarius rising. In fact, this is very close to the United States Sibley chart here, the Sagittarius rising. He is likely to be himself this year, his most bombastic, lying self. So if you're expecting any kind of truth coming out of this man, I would doubt that that's going to happen. He does have a lot of energy in his 4th house. Jupiter is there, which is actually a nice energy to have, but he has it next to Mars and Chiron. So we have a Mars-Chiron conjunction in that 4th house. This is not that much fun. This is, well, actually, this could be a healing of the wounds if he was so inclined, or this can be expressing himself from the wounds, right? And we do have it as a Sag rising chart. We do have Jupiter as the ruler of that chart, and it is wide conjunction to Mars. So again, this is, this whole idea of, we loved saying doubling down now ever since he got in, like it's a big crapshoot, right? But this could even be a tripling down on who he is. He has his North Node in the 6th house here, or the North Node is in his 6th house in this solar return chart, right? And he does have Uranus there, conjunct Venus. I'm trying to find my little cursor. I can't find it. Oh, here we go. Sorry. We have Uranus here. We have Venus in the conjunction. We have the North Node. This is the house of health. This could be a very challenging time for his health. This is, this could be, with all of this angry sort of energy, perhaps this could be Strokesville, if it might be. Taurus rules the neck. Maybe something carotid. Maybe not though. He does have a flow between the moon and Mars, the moon and Chiron. He will be expressing his shadow, so we can expect him to say the same things he's always said. So let's take a look at this chart, because this chart is his birth chart with this full moon. And what's happening is he has the sun on the sun, he has the moon on the moon. It's activating his nodes. We have Mercury here at the top of the chart. We do have Saturn in an opposition to his Mars. That's very difficult. We have Pluto still pretty much opposing at least his Venus. I would also include Saturn here. This has been going on a long time, and we're wondering, when is this going to end? Why isn't he being held accountable? Well, Saturn tends to be the planet that holds things accountable, and it isn't an opposition to his Mars, but it's not an exact opposition. It's actually balsamic. Now it's moving backwards. So I think we're going to get a lot of information with this Saturn opposite Mars, as far as his actions, his hidden actions, right? But when will he see justice? That might not happen until Saturn actually exactly opposes that Mars. And I believe that's going to happen in 2023. So that's probably when things are going to get real for him when it comes to the legal stuff, maybe around this January 6th thing. So we'll see what Merrick Garland does with that. There's a couple of other things. We have Mars opposing his Chiron and conjuncting Chiron as a Chiron opposition. So this is a big expression of his wound. Okay, big expression of his wound. So while I think justice will eventually be served with this man, whether or not he'll go to jail, he may not be physically able to maintain that. Whatever the jail, he's in a jail of his own mind anyway. I think he's less of a threat. But the way that they have used his energy, they being the people behind him, right? The manipulators or whatever. He's kind of like the bullet in the gun, but the gun is still sort of pointing. And I'm not sure anybody could fill his most awful shoes, but we do have to move away from the way that he has set up the way that we are to each other, especially in the United States. We really have to come to work together. And I think the January 6th commission is a good example of working together, although I'm sure the Republicans would disagree. But of course, the Democrats were willing, but this was the only option that they were kind of given. And in a way, I think it's a good option. I think it's a good option. So let's continue with the astrology of the week. On Wednesday, the 15th, we have Mars make its conjunction to Chiron. Now, this occurs every 2 years. Mars conjunct any other planet is a 2-year cycle. And it happens at 16 degrees of Taurus. Now, Mars in Aries, conjunct Chiron in Aries, is especially potent because Mars is the ruling planet of Aries. And so Mars is very powerful in Aries. And so with Chiron is both the wound and the healing balm to that wound. And we can find ourselves acting from the wound. And in the case of Chiron in Aries, it can be the wound of identity. It could be the wound of toxic masculinity. It could be the wound of not being able to stand up for yourself. It could be the wound of, there's a bestial nature to Aries. It's life coming, up. Aries is also guns. So this Chiron Mars conjunction has a lot to say about how we treat people who maybe don't define themselves like everybody else. This could be the wounded warriors, our veterans who are not being taken care of. A lot of veterans are put into the police force, which, it's like, it sounds like a good fit, but a lot of these veterans are suffering PTSD. And I don't know about you, but I would rather not have my police force all suffering PTSD. So there's a lot of things to look at with this Chiron and Aries, but Mars making that conjunction, we can either act from our wound or we can actually heal it. So it's an opportunity for healing. So the 16 degrees of Aries where this occurs, the Sabian symbol is nature spirits are seen at work in the light of sunset, attunements to the potency of invisible forces of nature. I've been saying for a long time that our relationship to nature is key to both our healing and our survival on planet Earth. When the Sabian symbol reaches into the consciousness of man seeking meaning, it should be seen as an invitation to open his mind to the possibilities of approaching life in a holistic and non-rational, intuitive manner. This is about aligning with nature, our own nature, and accepting our own nature. Not everybody's going to fit into the square that people want them to fit into, and they should not actually be, that should not be held against them. And of course, this is also something that this is the right to do what you want to do with your own body. So this is also the abortion right issue, which we're going to find out if the soon, if not at the end of June, certainly in July, what the Supreme Court has decided around Roe versus Wade, and that's going to be a whole nother can of worms. I was watching when that all came down, and there's so much happening all at once. It's almost hard to keep track. So just how many things are like busting open here. But I was watching the women talk about this, and they called this summer the summer of rage, the summer of rage. And there is quite a bit of rage, and there is quite a bit of anger. Nobody likes to be told what they can and cannot do, especially if you're an American. That's true whether you're a white man or a Black woman or an Asian child, although Asian children probably don't like it, but they don't say, no, mama, because they know better, right? But anyway, that's the way I was raised. That was old school Italian here, raised by old school Italians. Anyway, that's not here nor there. This is the start of a 2-year synodic cycle, of which we can take action from a wounded place, or we can take action to heal the wound. So it's up to us. Again, 6 is a choice. 6 is a choice number. The lovers is choice. We have a choice. We always have a choice. That's what makes us human. And that's very often what makes us make the wrong choice over and over again. Eventually, we get with the program, and the program really is the program that our own soul has devised for us. So hopefully we can get on the horse and ride it in the right direction. So here we have this Mars conjunct Aries. Mars conjunct Chiron here. Eventually, Jupiter is going to move over Chiron as well, but that won't be till next year. So, yeah. So let's just see if there's anything aspecting these two planets here. I'm not sure. I have to just look really quickly here. All right. The moon is in conjunct here, the moon in Capricorn. Moon in Capricorn likes order. This is somewhat of a disorder here. They pretty much sit by themselves here. So a new opportunity to heal the wound, really. On Thursday, June 16th, which is a 28-1 vibration, the Two of Wands, if anybody's interested. We have the Sun in Gemini make a trine to Saturn in Aquarius. This is good news for the January 6th commission. Maybe not good news for those people who have something to lose. This is the trine of creative self-expression. On that day, we also have Venus make a conjunction to the North Node at 23 degrees of Taurus. Well, this is particularly important because Venus is the ruling planet of this North Node. So the North Node of the moon is conjuncted by the planet that rules it. So that's important. We have also on the 16th, the Sun square Neptune in Pisces, a crisis in action square. I have lies and the liars that tell them. Well, we'll talk about that. The first thing we're going to look at is the Sun trine Saturn, which is right here. This is an Aries rising chart, so this applies to everyone. Here's the Sun in the 3rd house. Here's Saturn in the 11th house. The 11th house is Congress doing their work, and the Sun illuminating information, 3rd house. So this is a real illumination of what we need to know here, And whenever we have a trine, there is a flow of energy that cannot be stopped. So the information is coming out, and there's nothing that the big orange baby can do to stop it, no matter how much he tries to distract and how much he rages and all of the like. It's coming out. The information is coming out. So this is the Venus conjunct the North Node. I thought we could look at that. And I did pull this for the United States again. I didn't do an Aries rising chart. But we can see that this is all happening in the 12th house here, with the South Node in the 6th house. We have Saturn here in the 9th house in Aquarius, squaring the nodes, squaring really this Venus, squaring the nodes here. Resolution node is the South Node in Scorpio. We need to look to the past to see realistically what damage really has been done, and then we can move into this new position of peace. And part of that peace comes through an understanding of a spiritual understanding. This deals with spiritual understanding here in this 12th house. Also, maybe some exposure of those hidden enemies, like who's really our friend and who really isn't in this case. Of course, we have the Sun here. This is just before dawn. The Sun's about ready to rise and sort of illuminate things. So this is pretty interesting. So let's look at the 23 degrees of Taurus, because that's where this conjunction is occurring. A jewelry shop filled with valuable gems. Interesting thing about 23 degrees of Taurus is this was the degree of the 2000 Jupiter Saturn conjunction. We had another one in 2020. It happens every 20 years. That one occurred at 1 degree of Aquarius. So this was the previous cycle. And this was the cycle that kind of started the 2000s with us, right? And of course, what we valued at the beginning of 2000 is very different than what we ended up valuing 20 years later. There was a lot of change and shift in our values, which can happen when we're dealing with, certainly when we're dealing with Taurus, right? It says the social confirmation of natural excellence. Now, I find the most interesting thing about this particular symbol is how he explains this idea of gems. And I think that we can all appreciate what's being said here. I'll read it. And you see what you think about it. It says, 2 elements should be distinguished in this symbolic picture. The gems that result from a natural process, often induced by extreme volcanic heat and pressure, and the finished products of refined craftsmen. Both the gems themselves and the artistry are highly prized and bringing prestige to the owner of the jewels. The symbol applies to any product which culturally acquired skill has embellished or transformed. At the end, At the end results a lengthy and demanding natural process. I almost feel like we're the gems here, that we're under a lot of pressure through natural and man-made challenges, perhaps, and then our ability to take that gem, that pearl of wisdom, or that gem of wisdom, and shine it up ourselves and shine our light. So it is our struggles that create the foundations for the light to hold. We become, as we let go of our own sort of agendas for our lives, we allow spirit to move through us and to shine us for what we're really here to do. We are here to experience life. We can't always fix everything, but we can attune ourselves to our highest vibrational states. And I feel like this symbol here gives us some of that imagery. And I really do like this symbol. So this is the sun in Gemini squaring Neptune in Pisces. This is also happening on Thursday. Thursday's a pretty busy day, pretty busy week, guys, actually. This is a crisis in action square. The problem with taking an action whenever we're dealing with Neptune is that we don't always know where we're going. We don't always know or unintended consequences could be something associated with anything that has to do with Neptune. So I have here the liars, the lies and the liars that tell them, crisis in action. You know, this is going to be the lies on steroids, because, you know, Trump knows that this is the truth coming out. Now, he doesn't care about the truth, so it's not like he cares that the truth's coming out. What we need to guard against is how he can rile up his folks. And of course, I can't watch the guy, but I watched a small bit of what Tucker Carlson said in his show, which was at the same time as the January 6th hearing that, of course, Fox wouldn't do. And it's just so perverse. And so, like, it's just such a lie. But you know that there are a lot of people watching it. So we don't really, even though this information is coming out, it's very possible that folks are not going to listen. But we do have to know what's happened and how it happened, because we have to figure out how to prevent it from happening again. Even more so than putting Trump in jail is to be able to figure out how we can avoid this again. And that is going to be a process. That's not going to be a simple, you know, do two or three things and put Trump in jail. You know, one of the things that Trump did was he tested our country. He tested our country. And really, we've had to come to see who we truly are in this country, and then after that, who we truly want to be. So he has enlightened us in a very painful way, and it's up to us to fix it, really, and do what we need to do to keep our democracy viable. And there's going to be a lot of changes with that. We got to get money out of politics. We have to have a free press, not a press that's paid by large corporations that have some sort of stake in what's being said, what's being shown. We have to make sure that we have our voting rights bills, that it's easier for people to vote, not harder, that people are represented, that when we say we want gun control, that the people who are our representatives do it, hold them accountable, vote them out, right? And be your own best advocate here. We have to be our own best advocates, and we have to get along with each other. Democracy will not survive unless we start to find the common thread, the common thread, because all of this bullshit is coming from the people in power. They do not want us to realize, because we are the sleeping giant, and they know it, and they're just making us fight each other. So be aware, folks, be aware. Okay, so I'll get off my soapbox now. So this could be lies, or it could be this could be taking actions on your ideals, or the ideal that is set, and your dreams. So we're creating, this is part of focusing on what you want to create instead of not what you want to create. Do you want to create Trump in jail, or do you want to create a country in which that can't happen again? That we don't fall for this, that there is and it's on so many levels. It's on so many levels. It's not just laws. It's how we're treating our people, and how we're treating our world, and how we're treating the planet. The only way forward is love and cooperation. That's the only way we're going to survive in this country, on this planet, at this time. So, we can disagree, but there are certain things that we have to agree on, and the facts are one of them. The facts are one of them, and luckily we're getting some facts at this time, because it seems like we've been waiting a long time for these facts. So this cycle actually began back on March 13th, 2022, which happened to be a 22-4 vibration, master spiritual builder. So this is an important cycle, this sun Neptune cycle. It says a materializing medium gives a seance the ability to give one's own vital energy to substantiate one's conscious ideals or unconscious desires. And so this is really about putting your energy into your vision of the future. So who has a better vision? Who has more energy? Love is more powerful than hate, folks. Love is much more powerful than hate. So, because ultimately we unite. It's the nature of evolution. We are one. The question is, how much suffering do we have to feel before we realize that that's the direction we're going in? On Saturday, June 18th, we have Venus make her first quarter square to Saturn. This is a crisis in action called a building square. We're building the foundations for the seeds planted at the Venus-Saturn conjunction that occurred on 3/28/2002. That was a 37-1 vibration. That is the King of Cups. So this is important for our little King of Cups, right? Joe Biden. But the King of Cups, that 37-1 is also Trump's shadow vibration, right? So again, we have to realize that he is going to be going balls to the wall, so to speak, to get himself out of this situation. So he's going to lie himself silly, which is nothing new, right? Okay. So this conjunction, this initial conjunction of sort of the seed that was planted in this cycle, is a rug placed on the floor of a nursery to allow children to play in comfort and warmth. The keynote is the warmth of understanding which comes to those who early in life are open to new possibilities. And so we really need to, for the sake of our planet and the sake of our children, we need to show them a different way. We need to show them a different, or we need to be willing to see the way they want to go, because they may have a better idea than we have. We don't, if you don't ask, you don't know. Through the warm appreciation of basic opportunities and even small comforts, we can safely and happily grow into personal maturity. Keep it simple. The North Node in Taurus requires us to keep it simple. One of the reasons why we're having all of this sort of energy around restraint and constraint of resources is because what is helping us do is evaluating what it is that we truly need in our life. And that's going to change the whole dynamics of the economy. when it's a consumer economy and you realize you don't need that much, what happens to the economy? So the whole economy is changing. The whole economy is shifting, and of course, the North Node is in Taurus, which is all about our resources and our money. So, and we have Uranus there on the North Node, and that's going to be sitting there for most of the for most of the rest of the year. We also have a Saturn Uranus square getting very, very close at the end of this year. So we are not out of this Saturn Uranus, crisis in consciousness square. It is about moving in a more Aquarian direction. But we're still in the rebellions cycle. So let's just take a look at the two symbols for 26 degrees of Aquarius, which where Saturn is sitting in 26 degrees of Taurus, where Venus is sitting in the square. It says a garage. This is Aquarius, 26 degrees, a garage man. I guess a mechanic. That might be a better name for this. Testing a car's battery with a hydrometer. Skill in applying knowledge of natural laws to solution of everyday problems, resulting from life in our technological society. And this is square Venus at 26 of Taurus. A Spanish gallant serenades his beloved, the ritualization of individual desires. So there is this sort of challenge between our desires to do what we love and how do we fit that into the society that we have. That of course is the crisis in action, but we kind of need to build the foundations for this to utilize perhaps the our technological age for the benefit instead of using it as a weapon, which is what we always seem to do, weapon first, right? How can we use it to take down our enemies? Well, who's the enemy? We're all human. Who's really the enemy? What are we talking ourselves into here, guys? Love is the answer. Love is the answer. All right, I think we're done, right? Okay, so that'll be next week. We'll look at that next week. So let's stop the share. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. Sorry about the politics for those of you who hate politics. You're welcome for the politics for those who are wondering what all this astrology is going to really mean for what we're experiencing now. Either way, thank you for listening. And if you like this, please like. It does help get the word out there, people to see this. If you think people are interested in this information, it's very helpful to me. And if you'd like a reading with me, you can contact me at my website, thesiegeoftransformation.com. There'll be something in the descriptor for you to click on if you like. I do astrology, Kabbalah readings. I do plain astrology, just astrology, straight astrology. If you're not interested in the Tree of Life, I do numerology, Kabbalah readings with the Tree of Life and a combination astrology. If you're interested in that, I do teach classes. Right now, I have a beginner's Kabbalah class going. I have an ongoing astrology salon. If you have astrological knowledge and you want to hang with some people chatting about astrology, especially a lot of the work that we do in that salon, which is Tuesday nights 7 to 9, it's $25 a class. You can do one class, you can do 6 classes, whatever you want to do. You might want to just check it out. But we mostly talk about current events, so we look at the current events happening in the astrology around it. And sometimes somebody has an issue and or somebody's curious about something, and we talk about it and we explore it together. It's really quite a bit of fun, at least for me. It's a great group of very, very powerful souls. So again, have a great week, and I'll see you again next Sunday. Take care, everyone. Namaste.